Welcome to the X Factor podcast. I'm your host, Charles Epstein. Today, I am joined by Ashraf Saleem, organizational psychology consultant at Labayh, a leading Saudi mental health and wellness platform that connects users with licensed psychologists, psychiatrists, and family consultants for private remote consultations. Labayh offers instant or scheduled sessions, mental health assessments, and employee well-being programs. Ashraf, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Charles. Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, delighted. You and I have had a couple of conversations leading up to this. So I've been looking forward to it. So thanks so much for spending some time with me today. Before we get to it, I need to ask you, I was looking over your LinkedIn page, and I see that in 2020, you did volunteer work for the Society for the Protection of Turtles. And on your page, you say it was, quote, the most unique experience in my life. I now have some knowledge and information about marine turtles and conservation. I also gain a lot socially and physically from it, end quote. So tell me about that. What did that experience teach you beyond the behaviors of marine turtles?
Thanks again for having me, Charles. And I didn't expect you would go over my LinkedIn and ask about the turtles. That's very interesting.
Hey,
Um,
we do our homework here.
yeah, yeah. So I think I call it the most unique because it's completely not my field. You probably saw in my LinkedIn, I am in healthcare, organizational psychology, business, these things. But this was completely something else. This was biology. This was environmental conservation. So it started as it's a volunteer. It's a volunteer thing. As you said, it's a long time now. I forgot so many things, but it was in summer when I was doing my bachelor degree in Cyprus. Um, I think I was really free that summer. I had a lot of free time. I didn't have much to do, so I wanted to have like a new experience or something interesting, something which will occupy my time. So there was this society spot. They're still active until now, by the way. Um, and I realized they're doing volunteer programs. They do it every summer in Cyprus or most summers, in which they involve you. They have different positions, but it's the whole goal is to help in the protection of turtles, endangered turtles, which come every summer to hatch their eggs in Cyprus. So every summer there is like thousands of turtles. They come and they lay eggs, and then at the end of summer, I think usually in August or September, the eggs hatch and they go to the sea, and they track them. They give them chips. They track them to see where they go, and they help in their, preservation efforts, and they do research about them. So yeah, I was accepted to do this volunteer. It was a very interesting, I think, 2 weeks. I guess I went to Girne. Girne is a seaside town in Cyprus. And then we went to this beach and we stayed there. They have a house there with the other volunteers. We stayed there, and they taught me the things, and then we started doing. Basically, it was very, very enriching experience, even physically, as I said, because we were forced to wake up every day like 6 a.m. And the heat, Cyprus heat is very, very like unforgiving heat. It was 42 degrees Celsius. Um, and you go every morning, and then you have to search for the eggs. And it's not obvious where the turtles buried their eggs. You have to find it. Then you have to dig quite a big hole. And then maybe you don't find anything. Maybe you find and you search for the turtle tracks, so you know where the turtles went. And then if you find the eggs, you have to record it. Of course, you have other people with you. You're not alone. So you have to record the number of eggs, and then if there is some baby turtles, you take them to the lab where they measure them and then release them in the sea. So it's very, very interesting and educational. As I said, physically, it was like quite a nice. It was workout basically, and I learned a lot about like turtles and biology, which is not my thing, usually. But it was interesting, actually. Some people do this as a job. There's some people like volunteer every year. Some people are always volunteering with them. So yeah, this is my experience.
Yeah, yeah, it's always interesting what makes people fascinated about different things, spending your life
Yeah,
studying that. It's kinda interesting, so thank you for sharing. So,
thank
tell our
you.
listeners a little bit about Labayh, when it was founded,
Yeah.
its history, the mission.
So Labayh actually, um, let me tell you about the name. It's very hard to translate the name to give you the like the insight about the name. Labayh in Arabic, specifically in some dialects of Arabic, including Saudi, means like, in very simple terms, it means I will help you, but it's much more deeper than that. It means I'm all yours, you know? I'm ready to help you. I'm all yours to help you in whatever you need. This is the word meaning, Labayh actually. And Labayh was a startup founded in 2017 in Medina in Saudi. It is basically a digital healthcare company. It's a health and well-being platform, basically, with a very clear idea, which is to make psychological support accessible and culturally acceptable as well to Saudi primarily, but to the whole region as well. So it started in 2017. I know there was like some big revamp in 2018 as well, and in 2020, around the time COVID, was a global pandemic, it really blew up. It had like a big launch. It became quite famous. And so yeah, there is a Labayh app, there is a Labayh platform, there is a community. It offers basically digital mental health care solutions. Um, to people, through psychologists, through psychiatrists available on their apps, on their website. You can book sessions. There's a community, there is assessments for, like for depression and anxiety and so many other things where people can do assessments and be linked up to certain professionals. And there is also multiple like divisions of Labayh. Me specifically, I'm working with Labayh Business. Labayh Business was founded after the main Labayh, and it's a B2C platform. It deals directly with companies, not with individuals. Um, and it offers the same things, but on an employee level or in a workplace level. So it offers also different kind of solutions, consultations and sessions for employees, workplace well-being solutions such as research, workshops, trainings. We also do other kinds of work other than the B2C. We, as you know, we started to do these reports around a year ago, where we do research and publish reports and studies and surveys on multiple topics, all related to workplace well-being, of course. We have a newsletter on LinkedIn as well, where we publish insights about many different things. On the website, I'm talking about Labayh Business, of course. There is also case studies about some clients we worked with. And I know recently also there is Labayh Educational, just launched recently, which is now offering solutions to the educational sector. So yeah, it's growing a lot. Um, I can talk more if you want in depth, but this is like Labayh in a nutshell.
Okay, no, no, that's great. It is an excellent website, and you have tons of really good reports and such. And in fact, I do want to pivot to a particularly interesting report that you recently published titled The Human Side of AI Employee Wellbeing in the Age of Intelligent Workplaces. So I do want to talk about that, but also a little bit about your role as an occupational psychology consultant on a day-to-day basis. Maybe you could just give our listeners a sense of what that's like on a day-to-day basis.
Sure. So I'm, as you said, an organizational psychologist. I'm working in the research and consulting team in Labayh Business with some colleagues. So my role on a day-to-day basis is I am involved in the reports you saw. I write the reports. We do the research about them. We also do a lot of studies, me and the team. So, for example, we design surveys which we feel are interesting in Saudi or in the sector or in the whole organizational psychology. So, for example, in the past, we had a study about women in the workplace in Saudi Arabia. We also had a study about generational differences in the workplace. Um, we have a study currently running about mental health apps and how they affect well-being as well. So we are involved in the designing of these studies, designing the questions, designing these. We also work on more, let's say, more evidence-based assessments, full-on assessments. These are not just for reports, but these are to offer to people. Um, so you could say this is my day-to-day work. A lot more other things also. For example, working with clients, we do data analysis. The workshops or programs we offer to clients, we get data back from that, so we analyze the data and we make reports only for the client about that. For example, the value of our intervention or the return of investment on the intervention that we did, or what differences happened in their workplace on individual level, also the whole company level.
Yeah. Now, again, as I said, the breadth and the depth of those reports and the work you do is very impressive. By the way, I wasn't expecting to ask you this, but having worked for mental health and wellness organizations based all around the world, China, Russia, France, Brazil, Saudi Arabia. Um, it's interesting because there's a history with each country as far as the acceptance of these kinds of services, particularly at the workplace. I'm curious across Saudi, what has been the evolution of these services and the acceptance of these services?
For sure, this is a barrier, right? Absolutely, it's a barrier, and it's one we're trying to overcome every day, and it's getting better every day. But it's a long term journey. Um, Things were a lot more difficult when Labayh was started, and even before that. I think now there is a lot more acceptance to this whole idea of mental health in general. In the past, it was really difficult. Maybe pre 2015, especially even pre COVID. COVID also opened a lot of things actually. Um, but yeah, it is a big barrier. Saudi society in the whole region. There is a lot of stigma to mental health, to like going to a psychologist or having a session with a psychologist, or being diagnosed maybe with like a mental health thing. There is a big stigma on that, and a big barrier. It's perhaps a bit easier in the workplace because there you're offering more business oriented things. But of course, there is a barrier, and it took some time to, let's say, show people the insights about well-being and how impactful it is in the workplace. That your employees' well-being actually affects productivity. It affects turnover. It affects absenteeism, engagement levels. This was very difficult in the past. People were not focusing so much on well-being, but I think especially Labayh actually had a major impact in the Saudi market or in the Saudi region in general on this matter. Uh, Probably, in my own opinion, Labayh is maybe the number one driver over this openness, to employee well-being, especially in the last 5 years. Companies are a lot more accepting these days that well-being effects. There is a lot more, like let's say tenders opening up, projects open up, which companies, private and public sector, they want well-being solutions. They're viewing the value of well-being, so it's a lot better, and it will get better with time. But there is, it's not that open yet.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much a global phenomenon. I mean, different cultures, different organizations, there are different levels of acceptance, but clearly that's changing. So it's interesting to see. So, yeah, I do want to focus on this excellent report that you recently published. Again, the human side of AI, employee well-being in the age of intelligent workplaces. And your research shows, by the way, I don't know if you have this at your fingertips. Do you have any information on the sample size, the nature of the organizations that you surveyed?
For the AI report, we didn't do a study of our own. These are all sources. These are all like secondary sources. We
I
didn't do
see.
a study for the AI report.
I see. Okay. but
Yeah,
still you surfaced a lot of really interesting information. So I just want to go through this. Your research
yeah.
shows that 94% of Saudi employees view AI positively in their personal lives, yet workplace studies reveal anxiety over job loss and training gaps. How do you explain this disconnect?
Say it again.
The report indicates that 94% of Saudi employees view AI positively in their personal lives, yet workplace studies
Wow.
reveal anxiety over job loss and training gaps. And
Yeah,
how do you explain
yeah.
the disparity?
Probably because there is still um probably worldwide, there is still a big what to call it disconnect between what AI actually is or what's going on in the whole AI sector. You know, few people. It's getting more, but few people are seeing the overall picture or the long term story of AI and what is AI and what tools are available in AI and the whole. Uh, Most people still know, like, ChatGPT, and you go and you type some things. A lot of people still only have this information, a very surface level information. Um, the best way, there is multiple explanations here, but the best way, in my opinion, would be that on the surface level, a lot of people view AI as amazing to help in productivity in day-to-day things. Like in ChatGPT or whatever, it helps you to some writing, it helps you do some things. So they view it positively because it's helping to increase their productivity, decrease the time that they're spending on like mundane tasks. But at the same time, the anxiety and things is coming maybe from these unknown factors, which is where is AI going? Um, it's getting advanced more and more every day. Maybe also from the lack of training when it comes to AI, lack of know-how. Maybe they are seeing, nowadays you open social media, you see AI this, AI that, a new version released, a new model released, AI is doing this, AI is taking over this job. But a lot of people don't know how to utilize it good, more than a surface level, more than just the typical tools we all know. Probably that's where this disconnect is coming from, added to a lot of other layers as well. It comes to, for example, misleading information, misleading communication, lack of training, as we said. It all adds up to probably give the figure that you mentioned and the fact that you mentioned.
Yeah, no, we see that here too. I mean, there's a lot of confusion. Every company wants to tout that they have AI embedded in it or it's driven by AI. So that also sort of adds to the confusion because people are just sort of bringing it into their marketing literature where it doesn't really mean much. And as you say, people have some experience outside of work, let's say ChatGPT or Claude, and they go to work and they see a different side of it. So I can understand why there's sort of a cognitive dissonance between the two. Um, and by the way, some of these questions, go to the report, but also go to your role at the company, and of course, your background as an organizational psychologist. Um, so the other question I want to ask: most organizations treat AI adoption as standard change management related to communications, training, governance. Yet AI is changing not just how people work, but what work means to their identity, their sense of purpose, their sense of self worth, even. So, how are organizations reckoning with this? Because, clearly this is a very deep, unsettling thing at a certain level.
Unfortunately, still not very good, to be honest. Worldwide, worldwide. But in the region, a lot of organizations are still. First of all, I think it's very very clear. Especially, I have noticed it everywhere. There is a huge push towards AI at the moment. In the region. A lot of companies, a lot of organizations have started to see the real value of AI, and there is a big push towards it now, towards using AI on all various level, on the senior level and the employee level. There is a push to use AI, to utilize it in your daily work, to utilize it in your big projects. Um, from up top, I mean, there is a push from senior level to use AI across the region. It's very obvious, and I notice it a lot. And there is also like it wasn't like this before. There is a good amount of people. I would even say the majority of people now, employees, of course, I'm talking like white collar employees, are seeing the value of AI and are accepting AI as a productivity tool, and it helps your productivity. It wasn't like this even maybe 6 months ago. If you ask people, this is my experience, even a year ago, 6 months ago, they will tell you, some people will say maybe it's like a trend, it will go away. Maybe they will say AI haven't reached that level yet. Maybe they will say AI is not helping so much, it's not giving good answers. But things have changed today. A lot of people are accepting AI is here to stay, and AI is like productive, and it's helping me. Coming back to your question, there is still a really, really, really huge gap in how organizations and companies and sectors are delivering AI training. You know, there is just a huge push that yes, let's roll out AI, let's pay for AI, use AI. I want you to do this thing in a lot faster time. But are you actually training AI right? Are you training employees on how to use AI right? Are you training and beyond? A lot of companies are doing training these days, like a normal AI training, like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini. This is the prompt, how to write the prompt, data sensitivity. Don't put your data there. But as you said, what about on a deeper level when it comes to people's self worth? It comes to people perception of their job meaningfulness or their competency. There needs to be training on a more psychological level, about the future of AI, the future of your um, job perception, job security, the future of the sector, the future of this job role, on a more like more employee level, let's say. Uh, this would be the answer to your question, I would say.
Yeah, you actually anticipated the question I was going to ask about training and reskilling, which naturally flowed from that original question, which sort of goes into the next question. And you already touched on this a little bit, where organizations, leadership is pushing AI on the workforce, saying, hey, you need to use these tools in order to be more efficient, to be more productive. And I see that in all organizations these days. There's that push. And obviously the message, if it's not explicit, it's certainly very much implicit. If you don't use these tools and if you don't show uh, productivity improvements, your job is going to be imperiled. And, there is that anxiety. So I'm curious, on the one hand, leadership is trying to be somewhat, I guess you can say, benevolent, or at least trying to be supportive. But by the same token, there is that Damocles sword, that persistent threat that you very well may soon be out of a job. And a lot of people, a lot of CHROs I've had on the podcast and I've spoken to just informally, casually, say that just about every day people come to them and say, hey, am I going to have a job in a year? And I don't know how each individual CHRO answers that, because there's no real truthful answer. So I guess the question I have is, how does, it seems to be cognitive dissonance seems to be a subtext to this conversation. So how does a leader, a chief HR officer, deal with these questions in a truthful way?
Yeah, this is this is a very good question and a very hard question, and there is no ultimate answer here. I'm not gonna give you the it's not solved because we're living in the middle of it. Um, I was talking to a colleague recently, and I told him, and I told this to like someone more than a year ago, that I truly, truly believe we are currently in an AI revolution on the same scale as like the invention of the internet, the information revolution, or even the invention of social media, or the invention like the industrial revolution. I think it's the same scale because in the last 3 years, the amount of huge advancement, very fast advancement that happened. It's huge. And we're living right in the middle of it. We cannot have a final answer now. We will have it in 10 years. Now it's very difficult, but we can try our best. Um, I think the best way to answer your question is first of all, it's like it's two scales, it's two sides. First, there is a side of, let's say, the employee, the individual, the normal everyday employee, which is this is my own opinion. This is what I believe is AI is here to stay. We should accept this. It's not a fad, it's not a wave, it's not a trend. I think the last 3 years have proved that AI is here to stay, and it's very, very helpful, and it's an amazing productivity tool. I use AI a lot. It's incredibly helpful. I'm using AI from a very long time, not recently from this push. And you should learn to keep up with the times. You should learn AI. Any employee these days in any kind of role should keep up with the date to be, because this is typical, not just with AI. I mean, any employee throughout any all over the years, they have to always, keep doing their self education and formal education to stay up to date, you know, um, with what's going on in the sector, what's going on in the latest technology. So I think this is very important on an employee level. Teach yourself AI, teach yourself prompt engineering, teach yourself the latest tools so you can stay competitive. This is one side, and this is must. Um, the other side is the more senior level, as you said, right? It's on the HR, it's on the senior management. Um, I want to say that I understand their push for AI, but it should be, let's say, like other factors should be taken into consideration, except money, business, productivity. Yes, it's especially in like in a for-profit company. This is your ultimate aim, and you have shareholders, and you need to make money, but not at the cost of people. Not there should be a balance. Managers today should have a balance that sure, you cannot tell people, hey, don't do AI. Impossible. This day it's impossible that a company doesn't do AI. It will fall behind. It will eventually go bankrupt or something. You have to use AI, roll out AI, but do it in an ethical manner, do it in a planned manner, do it in a programmed manner, where you take all levels into consideration. Think about, yes, AI is going to increase my productivity. How do I increase the efficiency of the company? How can I do more things for the less time? Amazing. But also, how do I protect my employees? How do I have honest conversations with them? What's the best way we can move forward? Like, let's say um, the most productivity for the least damage, and that requires honest conversations with employees. And also it requires minimizing harm. So, for example, I believe today, we haven't reached a level where you can replace roles with AI. I don't think so. We have reached this level. Um, like now, for example, AI can make graphic designs. We have reached this level, but are they like ready for sharing? No, they're not ready for sharing. A graphic designer has to edit them and approve them. So you cannot like replace now a designer with AI. You haven't reached. Same for a writer. Can you replace a copywriter? Can you just now like have a report written by AI and publish it directly? Impossible. It will have mistakes. It will be like amateur writing. You will need someone to proofread it, to check it, to add sources, to do these things. So you still need people. You cannot just like now replace whole sections with AI. People, I know there is maybe some companies and people who do it, but that's very short sighted. But I think companies and sectors which want to roll out AI, and by the way, this is one of the things Labayh is offering, and this is one of the things Labayh is doing now, which is offering, let's say, plans and programs how to roll out AI. You understand? Like ethical programs, long-term programs on how to roll out AI to your employees, how to familiarize your employees and your company with AI in an ethical manner, and in a manner that sees all the dimensions. So you roll out AI at the same time. The moment you talk about AI, maybe employees are gonna be scared. As you said, they're gonna come and say, "Oh, is my job gonna be there after a year?" So it's your job to have one, two, three, four workshops with them about no AI. This is the future of AI. This is where we're heading. What is the realistic expectations for your department? At the same time, how to roll out AI in a productive way. How to protect data. Data is a very big thing now.
Sure.
Um, a lot of companies are not paying attention to this. They are maybe like just giving data to AI and they don't know where it's going. If you read the terms of services of many AI tools, it's actually taking the data, it's using your data. This is breaking so many ethical codes. So you have to take all this into consideration. I think companies which do this are faring a lot better in the terms of well-being of their employees. And as I said, this is one of the services recently Labayh started doing as well.
We have spent most of our time talking about employees and leadership from the standpoint of how they're supposed to be or how they're rolling this out. And as you say, some of the ethical guidelines that are informing some of this rollout. But what often gets lost in the conversation is how this is landing on leadership from a psychology or a psychological standpoint. It must be also unsettling to them. Some of them may also be concerned about their job stability, and it also must have other psychological impacts when you're leading organizations. And there's so much on you, so much new decisioning that needs to be done. You're viewing things through really a very different lens. So, what are you hearing in your interactions with leaders as far as these stressors that they're grappling with?
This is also a very good question, honestly, and one that is rarely discussed. Actually, you were one of the very few people who mentioned this. And I rarely see this as a discussion, and it should be brought in the discourse. And I think we can maybe do something in Labayh about this, actually, which is focused on the leadership side of AI. Um, from my experience, from my observations, as you said, when talking a lot about a lot of middle management or even some senior management, you know, HR managers, departmental managers, departmental heads, even some more executive level. A lot of them are also under a lot of pressure, actually. Pressure from the senior level or pressure from the other departments, pressure from the sector, which is, they are also getting like these weekly meetings where they are told we have to push AI, we have to stay productive, we have to roll out this, and they're taking this pressure on the on the employees at the end of the day. So it's like a cycle. But I think the decision makers, the ultimate decision makers, where the ball stops, the CEO, the board of directors, it's on them to kind of like guide the whole ship, because they're the ultimate decision makers. It's on them to not just put the pressure, as we said in the previous question, not just roll out pressure of rolling AI, but to make it in a comprehensive manner and an ethical manner. There is pressure on them as well, not less so like directed pressure, but more indirect pressure from the whole sector. Because these CEOs and things, they are also, this is what I observed. They're seeing the sector around them. They're seeing all these other companies rolling out AI models, doing AI like tools of their own, designing their own AI tools. They're seeing the huge push for AI globally, and they're thinking, I have to do AI or I will not be productive. The shareholders will leave, there will be problems. So they're thinking, I have to roll out AI no matter what, so I stay productive. So it's also pressure, indirect pressure on that manner. So there is pressure on everyone from all kinds of levels. It's just up a lot of responsibility is with the decision makers to take responsibility and guide the ship in a good manner. And on the institution as a whole, whatever company it is, to spread this pressure and manage it in a good way. A good amount of responsibility is also on HR, to kind of, let's say, um take the initiative and think ahead of the game, about AI and about decreasing the pressure of AI and utilizing AI properly, doing workshops, doing programs, not only to employees, but to the leadership as well. And also on well-being providers such as Labayh and other individuals as well.
Um, how is AI affecting your practice, occupational psychology? How is it affecting it today? And you mentioned that, we're still very early stages of this transformative process. And I agree with you. AI is not a fad. It's here. If anything, it's going to get more powerful, more refined, s- more widespread, more ubiquitous. How do you see it affecting your work?
So there is the same thing as you said. There is a huge push for AI in my field of work as well, in the whole sector. There is a huge push to use AI, to learn AI tools, use it in your research, use it in your reports, use it in your data analysis. So this pressure is there to learn AI. In fact, I would say, as I told you, it's must. It's really must today that you have to learn in your data skills and your data set of skills today. AI is must. Utilizing AI is must today. This is one thing. Um, Also, this is in psychology in general, but also in organizational psychology. There is a lot of initiatives globally these days for AI. Let's say, AI psychology solutions. For example, like AI therapists, AI chats, which are offering psychological solutions and so on. A lot of companies are doing this worldwide. Labayh is also starting this. It hasn't rolled out publicly yet, but Labayh is developing also a kind of AI. I'm not sure if I want to call it a therapist because it will not give diagnosis or do these things. There is a lot of um, bounds and rules and regulations around it, but it will be like, let's say, a personal coach, which is assisting people in like simple things, like maybe daily advice, or like how do I sleep better, or how do I eat better, these kind of things, but not the more intense psychological diagnosis. No, but this is something Labe is working on, and I think will roll out probably soon. So this is also in the sector of organizational psychology. This utilizing AI somehow to provide consultations, let's say. On a third level, um, alongside the push as well, there is this um, pressure, as I told you, to utilize AI. Uh, I'm trying to find the right formulation. But basically, it rolls back that you have to utilize AI correctly, even in our sector, or you will be like behind. Until now, I in our field, I don't see a risk of, let's say, replacing my job, or replacing my role, or replacing this. But of course, it is a lot of productivity. We're utilizing AI in data analysis, for example. We're utilizing AI to help us produce reports, utilizing AI to like see patterns and analysis in these things, but still a large human factor is necessary. But as I told you, we're living in the midst of it. How it will go in the future, it's very uncertain.
It, several years ago, actually predating this AI revolution, if you will, which I guess in the popular mind or popular culture goes back maybe to the advent of Chat GPT, but of course we know
Yeah.
it predates that. But I was doing some business consultation for a company that had a platform that used AI as a candidate assessment tool. And the problem they ran into with HR people is, well, wait a second, that's really encroaching on what we do. We're the ones who are
Yeah.
supposed to. And the argument that the company made or that we made was that, well, there are certain processes that can be automated. Ultimately, the important decisions, the real granular decisions, requires the expertise of HR. It requires those intuitive characteristics that a human being uniquely brings to these decision processes. So it seems to me that, much of that applies to your work and your field. There are certainly components that could be automated. Obviously, there is a net gain when there is some counseling made more accessible, so long as obviously it's done in an evidence-based, responsible way. And you can ultimately serve more people and provide more expertise, using these tools.
As I told you, especially in this thing, in like recruitment, we haven't reached a level where you can, replace HR or replace the recruiters or replace the interviewers. No, 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 not at all. And any company which is doing that is being like, it's being very hastened. It's extremely like pushing the things way too much. It's unethical. It violates a lot of like codes, let's say. And I will go. Let's talk about this in maybe the next question, which is like governing laws and things and governmental laws surrounding AI. This is an important point actually. But coming back to the question, um, any company which is offering, let's say 100% AI automated solutions for your HR or whatever is either like false advertising or they're doing things way too fast. For example, from my experience, yes, you can use AI now to, let's say, you have so many candidates and you want to organize them and categorize them. Fantastic. AI can do that. That will help you cut a lot of time. You can like ask AI to help you um, categorize the candidates, help you make a data sheet for them, help you make a database. It can give maybe thoughts. Yeah, it can like analyze the CVs and tell you academic requirements fit or don't fit, experience years fit or don't fit, language levels, are they fitting your matches or not? Sure, it can cut a lot of hours, as I said. But can it make the decision? Can it tell you these candidates should be hired? Impossible. You cannot rely on this. Um, because there is many things AI will not understand. AI is very, very, very like it's just it will compare what you want and what it's seeing in the CV, or what it's like hearing from the interview. You know, it cannot see the body language. It cannot see if the person was nervous or not. It cannot see if the person like for example, was interested or not. You pick up on these things as an interviewer. The person is maybe interested, not interested. And also, even in the CV, there is small things you pick up on, like the field of work, how relevant it is to what we want. There is a gap in the years. Maybe it can pick up on some of these things, but when you make a comparison between, let's say, the shortlisted top 10 candidates, so much goes into consideration that AI cannot like tell you all of that. There has to be a decision maker um, who will take these things into consideration.
Yeah, and there's certainly something to be said for chemistry, which AI is not going to be able to pick up on. And if resumes or um, that kind of mechanical evaluation were so reliable, we'd have no retention problems. Everybody on
Yeah,
paper would be
yeah,
100% as good in reality, and we know we know that that's not the case. Also, the other thing is kind of interesting. Sometimes I find that when you have a conversation with somebody, it's not so much the answer; it's how they get to that answer, the thought process. You know, right? And AI really can't, as far as I know, get at that. They're looking for an answer. How well you answered, maybe responsiveness and all this. But I don't know if they could actually get at the quality or the imagination that goes into somebody's thought process in working their way toward an answer. It's not the answer, it's the process.
yeah. And the point about chemistry is very good. For example, you can have a person who is amazing on paper and fits your job requirements amazingly, and you can shortlist him for the top candidate. But in the interview or the second interview, you notice, his personality is not fitting our workplace, and this is a problem many people have. uh, Great experience, great education, great everything. But for example, maybe he's like a very, very, very logical, serious person. And the company's culture, the institutional culture, is more laid back, more fun, more like, chill. This
Right.
person will not fit the role.
Right.
The person will come and he will have issues. Maybe he will work very nice for a year and then he will quit because he's not adjusting in the workplace. AI cannot pick up on that because this is from this is goes from an interview, it goes from many things. I don't know, maybe in the future AI will be able to see an interview and pick up on all these things. It's very hard because it will require analysis of body language, which is even hard for humans. Even humans we haven't perfected this thing. It's so much intuition
Sure.
based. I doubt this will happen in the next 5 years, but who knows? To be honest,
Yeah, and by the way, we'd also have, longer term personal relationships if, the information of some dating sites, it would be more accurate, but, that doesn't always work out. Um, in any case, Ashraf, I know you got a lot of really interesting things going on at the company, and as we noted, there's just so much change. So 6 months down the road, this conversation may take a very different turn, right? We may be talking about some very different things. So I'd love to have you on a little bit down the road. We could revisit some of these things. And I know you're gonna have, as you mentioned, there's some other things that you're developing. So love to have you back on.
maybe in 6 months they will release actually a tool which will analyze, body language and these things. Then we will be wrong about the hiring
Ex
mechanisms.
exactly. Not the likelihood isn't high, but, we yes, we live in hope.
For
And
sure, yeah,
also,
yeah, yeah, of
y
course.
you know, it's also
As
weirdly
Yeah,
reassuring that, no matter where you're based, we're all grappling in different degrees, perhaps, with the same issues, the same questions, We're all in this AI
yes.
age together, you know?
Again, this is tied back to what we talked in the beginning. Remember that it's like globalization, and a lot of people now who are technologically connected are having the same experiences no matter where they're from.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Ashraf, I was really looking forward to this conversation. I really do appreciate this, and as I said, I'm gonna have to have you back on a little bit down the road.
Amazing. I would love to. Hopefully, by that time, maybe as I told you, we would have the Hakim, which is AI, Labayh's AI tool for some kind of therapy will be released. Perhaps we can discuss that maybe in the next time. And I'm sure by that time there'll be a lot more development in AI and the sector and things. So we can discuss more about Labayh's programs on that as well. Let's see.
E excellent, excellent. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Charles.